Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. Now in today's video, guys, I'm going to be doing a review on the first episode of the new Goosebumps TV show that got released on Disney Plus almost a month ago. It's been a couple of weeks, and it's also been a few weeks since I've watched the very first episode as well, which I've only seen the first episode so far. I've kind of been busy doing other stuff. Before I get on to this video, though, I do apologize, like I said, for the huge delay in this video. I know I announced it a while back when I did my Five Nights at Freddy's review, but I did release some short form content. If you didn't catch it yet, make sure you go check it out. I made a quick review on the Totally Killer movie that I watched on streaming. First movie that I watched on streaming this year and on Amazon Prime, which I thought it was really, really fun. And also yesterday, I watched the Terrifier 2 re-release, which was really, really fun, a very, very fun in-theater experience, and I got to see the teaser for Terrifier 3 that's going to be coming out next year, so I'm excited for that. Obviously, I'm going to continue trying to catch up and watch movies that I didn't get the chance to see in theaters this year, and that will come into effect when I make all of my rankings and my tier lists at the ending of the year. You'll see some of those movies that I never got a chance to do a review on. But other than that, for this month, there's actually a lot more movies coming out this month that I do want to see than I initially expected. You got Thanksgiving, you got Napoleon, you got Marvels, which of course I'm not super excited for, but I'm going to see it because it is an MCU movie. So there's actually a lot of movies to watch this month, so make sure you guys stay tuned. A lot of potential reviews coming up, and yeah, I'm just going to keep getting at it with these reviews and watching as many movies as I can before the ending of the year. I can't believe we are already in November of 2023. It feels like there's a whole lot that has happened this year, but we are just so far into the year now, which is just crazy to me. So yeah, other than that, let's just get on to this review. So, I'm not sure if you couldn't tell already, I'm not very excited to make this review, and I'm not sure if I'm going to make any further reviews for this Goosebumps new television series that has come out. I'll probably watch a few more episodes just because my mom is actually the one who brought it up to me that it was coming out on Disney Plus, and I had completely forgot about it. I knew that there were speculations for years, but then all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, it's out now, so you want to watch it?" And I was like, "Sure, give it a try." And my expectations were fairly low, but there were a few things going for it. The fact that there were 40-minute episodes, that they were trying something different with this new Goosebumps TV show. And I'm kind of back and forth with how I feel about, revamping the franchise versus kind of doing it all over again, but also covering a lot of the stuff that we missed from the original 90s TV show. Finally getting a proper episode of the very first Night of the Living Dummy story, getting, a bunch of other, really good Goosebumps books that never got episodes, Horror of Camp Jelly Jam, all these ones. I could go on a long list of episodes that we never got in that original 90s TV show. And even in some of the episodes that we did got, they missed a lot of important details. And so having a 40-minute episode is definitely helpful with that. Having twice as amount of time to go over the story more and do it more thoroughly. It's very, very hard. Even though Goosebumps books are obviously not that long, it's pretty hard to concise that story into a short 20-minute episode. Everything's kind of got to be very, very quick-paced and short and concise. And so, yeah, I was pretty excited learning that the episodes were going to be 40-plus minutes in this, 40 to 50 minutes in this new Goosebumps TV show. And, like I said, initially kind of excited about kind of it being a revamp and stuff like that. And so, I guess before I go on to this, what's probably going to be a rant, all things considered, before I go over this, the episode, let me go over the plot first for those of you who have not watched it. So, the first episode is over the Say Cheese and Die book, which, by the way, I'll say it right off the bat, it does not, the story and the characters are not the same as the original Say Cheese and Die book. The story and characters are very, very different. It still has to do with the camera And so I'll just get that out of the way right now. But basically, our main character that we're following is his name is Isaiah. He's this popular football player at his school, and he's got this big football game that is coming up. And so they're throwing like a party for it at this house that they think is abandoned. But actually, this guy just had recently just moved in to the town, and he's actually going to be one of the new teachers as well. But yeah, basically, he moved into this town, and they're throwing a party in his house because they think that it's still vacant. And before they throw the party at the house, they're trying to get an idea of the layout, see if it's like a good place to throw a party. And they find the camera in the house, and it doesn't start to get played in until later on. But they throw the party at the house. The guy kicks him out because he's like, "Hey, I live here. What the hell are you guys doing?" So they figure out that there's actually a dude living there, and then they figure out that he's a new English teacher at their school as well. And that's when they start tampering with the camera before the football game comes up, and Isaiah starts to kind of figure out some of the weird things about this camera, how it can predict the future. And one of the things that it is predicting is that he is going to break his arm during the big football game. And so leading up to the big football game, he tries to destroy the camera. He's very concerned about it. And he does very, very well once the football game comes up. Does very, very well in the first half. Is super hyped up. All of his teammates are super hyped up. Then he finds the camera in his locker, and he's not very excited about that. And so he's just trying, like, he's awkwardly trying to tell all of his teammates, like, "Hey, you got to protect me as much as you can." And they're like, "What the hell? We're trying to win this game." And he ends up breaking his arm, and yada yada yada, keeps going. Other bad things start to happen with the camera and things like that. I might have already spoiled it just a little bit with how far I went there, but I was kind of focusing on the camera part of this episode because a majority of this episode has really nothing to do with the camera, unfortunately. You have this story with I don't even know how to explain it. Like at the beginning of the episode, there's this dude in the house who I heard like I haven't really watched any reviews about it yet or anything like that. I guess I've watched a few, but I haven't watched any like explanations of the episode or anything like that. I guess I probably have to watch more of the episodes to understand, but at the beginning of this episode, there's like this dude and his house burns down or whatever, and he plays a role in the episode. He like pops up as like this like ghost or whatever in the episode, and then there's this whole other side plot about him having his relationship with his girlfriend and how his neighbor girl that he's lived with for a long or he's known for a long time is kind of ruining this relationship. And that's legitimately, those two things are like 75% of this episode, and the other 25% is about the actual camera itself. So what I just explained to you there was all the stuff that was pertaining to the actual camera. The other, probably 25 to 30 minutes of the episode are all focused on like teenage relationships and this other guy whose house burned down at the beginning of the episode. And I don't know, this episode is just a mess. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to explain any positives because I'm just going to be stuck here ranting about the absolute mess that this episode is. Like, man, it really frustrates me. I don't know if you guys were already able to tell based on my announcement of this video, if, that I was already pretty upset with this episode, but it's just a mess. For the first episode of a TV show, this is not a great way to start because I don't know, like, when your first episode of your show should give you an idea of where things are headed, like where things are going, what's going to happen next and things like that. I have no idea. And one thing that I also forgot to mention is this is not an anthology series either. This isn't just like one story at a time. These are all supposed to connect to each other. So yes, will I have to probably watch future episodes to understand this episode better? Yes. But also it's like, this is a huge, oh man, I don't even know where to begin. Like I said, I was initially excited about it being like a 40 to 45 minute episode. but a majority of it is just spent on stuff that I do not care about. I do not care about. And it's just such a shame because when you hear about this stuff complained, to other people who are big fans of franchises, like, I don't know, how do you want to say it? What's a franchise that was like ruined and the fans were like, I don't know, like Indiana Jones, like huge Indiana Jones fans, or like, I know this isn't the case with Mission Impossible, but let's say there was like a big Mission Impossible fan out there and there was a sequel that came out that did what this episode did to the franchise. Now I can kind of understand their frustrations and things like that. Now I can kind of understand the frustration of what, like, modernizing old, movies and TV shows and stuff like that, especially like, 90s TV shows and stuff like that. And this is not great because obviously I wasn't alive when Goosebumps was in its prime in the 90s when the TV show was out and things like that, but I'm a huge Goosebumps fan nonetheless. I've read many of the books. I watched many of the episodes growing up on DVD. And, yeah, as you guys know, I became a pretty big Goosebumps fan and collector. And watching this episode, it's so frustrating. It's like they tried to turn Goosebumps into this, like, Scream-esque, I guess not Scream, but, like, they just modernized it, and I do not like it. It's just, oh boy, it's got all of the things about modern horror that I do not like in it. And I don't know how to explain it any further. I was really hoping that they were just going to stay pretty straightforward, just redo the same story that they did in the 90s kids show that is based on the original book, and maybe give us a few more things that the 90s episode didn't cover. That's all you got to do, and I would have been satisfied. Just put in the details that were missed in that 90s episode because it was shorter. Now you got 45-minute episodes. You obviously have a much bigger budget. You have a much bigger budget. You got a lot more opportunities, and to make this better than, potentially better, or if not, up to par with the 90s kids show. But instead you turn it into this anthology series that is very, very loosely tied to the original story, and you modernize it, and it just turns into this huge mess. I really don't know where they're trying to go with this, with Goosebumps at this point, because I guess I should have known it beforehand with the Goosebumps movie as well as Goosebumps 2, which, to their credit, I think they're fine. I don't think that they do anything bad or anything like that, but I never rewatched them or anything like that because they only focus on, like, certain characters and things like that, and I don't know, they really just, they take the brand name and how do you want to say it? I guess the best way to explain this would be with the Hellraiser franchise, right? They take a brand name and they make their own story. They write their own stories and things like that. And then they take a brand name that people like, that has many fans and things like that, and they slap it on top of these stories that they have created, and then they just call it that brand name. And so basically what I mean is with, like, the Hellraiser franchise, you could tell that there were a lot of direct-to-video sequels that were not made to be a Hellraiser movie at all. And then they just slap in Pinhead in the mix and call it a Hellraiser movie. And it's like, this is not a Hellraiser movie. That's kind of the situation with this Goosebumps episode. They took a brand name, very, very loosely tied it to the original Goosebumps story, and then did all this other stuff, on their own that has nothing to do with the original Goosebumps plot, and called it Say Cheese and Die. I don't think it's fair to call this a Say Cheese and Die episode. It's, oh boy, like, the thing that made the original Say Cheese and Die episode isn't just the fact that it followed the story very, very closely, But the fact that it was like extremely eerie and that it was very focused on the camera and Spider, and when they took the pictures, there was just always something off about the picture, and there was this eerie feeling that you got when you saw that picture, and this nervous feeling like something's bad about to happen. But then they do it with this episode, and I think that they could have created that same effect. But when you modernize it, it just it just drains that effect. I don't know what it is. But also it ruins a lot of other things. I have no idea. I don't know how to think with this review. As you can tell, I'm not very happy. Maybe I need to watch a few more episodes before I make a conclusion, but it's not off to a great start. It's at a complete mess right now. Like I said, this isn't an anthology series. It's supposed to all be connected together, kind of like the MCU, where you have all these individual stories, but they do connect to each other. And like I said, you have a bigger budget than the original 90s TV show. You have 45-minute episodes, and all you need to do is create and just redo what the 90s kids show did. Just do an anthology series, stay close to the story, put in more details that we missed, put in episodes that we never got to see from the original 90s show for books, based off of books that we never got to see. Horror of Camp Jelly Jam, Ghost Camp, Night of the Living Dummy. There's a plethora of them. But instead you do this, where you steal a brand name, which is what Disney does. They just take a bunch of brand names and they do their own thing with it and they call it that. And this is what you get out of it. And now I can understand the frustration that fans of many other franchises that Disney has ruined feel. Because I am a big Goosebumps fan, as you know, and this episode, not a great start. I will very likely continue to watch it just to see what else it has to offer and things like that. But this first episode, it's a big mess. And I know I didn't explain it very well, but that's just like, that's how my mind is with this episode. I don't even know where to begin with the plethora of complaints I have. If you want to know, just watch it and find out, and you'll kind of understand all the issues that I have with it. But as somebody that's a huge fan of the franchise, I can't even begin to explain to you like all of the issues that I have with this. It was very, very simple. They had a very, very simple job to do. I know this sounds cliche, but they had a very, very simple job to do to satisfy me. And they just, man, it's like they did it again. They ruined another franchise. Like I've only watched one episode, but from what I've seen of other reviews and things like that, it doesn't get any better from there. So I really wish that they just would have stuck to the anthology series, stuck close to the original story instead of trying to do their own thing, which I think that's fine if you want to do that. But what they did here just did not work at all for me. So overall, how would I rate this first episode? I guess there were a few redeeming qualities about it. I did like our main character, actually. I don't think he was the problem. I think it was actually a lot of the other side characters and things like that, and the story itself and things like that. For the little bit that we did get of the camera, I thought it was fine. So there are a few redeeming qualities, but this episode is such a mess, and it just gets so off track with other things that I do not care about and have nothing to do with Goosebumps that this episode was not great. So I think I'll give it a 3 out of 10. I think that's the first 3 out of 10 that I've ever gave for a movie, an episode. I haven't really done any episode reviews ever on my channel, but for any of my reviews, I don't think I've ever gave something that low, because usually I'm pretty nice, and I haven't had any very super bad movies this year or anything like that. So yeah, I'm gonna give this episode a 3 out of 10. I'm not very optimistic. I don't think it's gonna get very much better. But if I do watch the future episodes and I do see something different and that I do like, then I will continue this series. But expect this to be the one and only review that I have for this new Goosebumps series that has come out on Disney+. So that is it for the review. I know that was a little bit sad to start off the month, but we got a lot of other reviews coming out this month for movies that I am excited about, particularly Napoleon and Thanksgiving. So yeah, make sure you stay tuned for that. I'm going to be continuing to watch movies on streaming, and yeah, That's about it. Stay tuned, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.